Have you ever caught yourself drawn to someone who just doesn't seem to reciprocate? Someone who's always busy or distant or disappears for days. You text them, you wait, you reread your messages while they act like it's a one-sided game. And the craziest part? The more unavailable they are, the more you want them. You think about them constantly, check your phone every few minutes, and feel a knot in your stomach when they don't reply. But when they finally do, even with a short, vague message, you feel a rush of relief and excitement, only to go back to waiting again. This isn't a quirk of your personality. It's not love addiction or low self-esteem. It's an evolutionary mechanism, hardwired from our ancestors who roamed the savannah. And today, in a world of dating apps and notifications, it still drives your emotions just as powerfully as it did 1,000 years ago. Let's break down why your brain turns unavailability into a magnet and how this trap keeps you from building real connection. To understand this, we have to go back to the beginning of human history. Picture the ancient savannah. Vast grasslands, dangerous predators, and small groups of people trying to survive. Your ancestors live in a tribe of 30 to 50 people. Inside that group, there's a clear hierarchy: leaders, hunters, gatherers, elders, and children. Your survival depends directly on your position in that ladder. If you're high up, you get better food, protection, and the best mates. If you're low, you get scraps and become the first target for predators. Your brain evolved to constantly scan for social cues because your place in the group meant life or death. Now here's the key. In that environment, unavailability was a direct signal of high status. A person who doesn't chase your attention, who doesn't run after you, they probably have resources, power, or other partners already. They're not desperate, they're not needy, and that makes them attractive. Your brain, evolutionarily tuned to find the best genes, reads that unavailability as high value. Evolutionary biologists call this signaling theory. The harder something is to catch, the more valuable it seems. Think about it. If you see a fruit hanging low on a tree, you assume it's not as good as the one at the very top, which takes effort to reach. The same logic applies to people. Studies with chimpanzees have shown that females prefer males who don't respond too quickly. The ones who fuss and fawn lose status. The ones who keep distance get more attention. You thought that was your personal taste? No, that's code written into your limbic system over hundreds of thousands of years. And this code doesn't just affect who we choose, it affects how we feel when we're being ignored. When someone doesn't reply, your ancient brain interprets it as a potential threat to your status and even your survival. That's why it hurts so much. But status is only half the story. The other half is your dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. There's a classic experiment from the last century where researchers put pigeons in a box with a lever. In one group, food came every time they pressed. The pigeons pecked exactly as much as needed. In another group, food came irregularly, sometimes after 3 presses, sometimes 10, sometimes at random. And what happened? The second group's pigeons slammed that lever to exhaustion, refused to rest, hypnotized by the mechanism. They kept pressing and pressing even when food didn't come for a long time. That effect is called intermittent reinforcement or variable reinforcement. It triggers the highest spike of dopamine in the brain because the reward system runs on maybe this time it will hit. The same goes for slot machines. You pull the lever and you don't know if you'll win. That uncertainty keeps you hooked. The same goes for social media feeds. You scroll endlessly because the next post might be interesting. And the same goes for your relationship with that unavailable person. When someone texts you, then ghosts, then gets close, then pulls away, your brain enters a casino mode. Every message from them is a potential jackpot. Every glance is an unstable prize. Research has found that uncertain rewards activate the pleasure center more strongly than certain ones. So when someone you like is consistently warm and reliable, you get used to it. It's nice, but it doesn't give you that intense rush. But when they're cold and give you hope once a week, you glue yourself to your phone and wait for hours. You replay their last words in your head. You analyze every emoji. You try to decode their silences. You're not obsessed with them as a person. You're obsessed with the uncertainty they create. That uncertainty is like a drug. And like any drug, you need more and more to get the same hit. That's why you can't walk away, even when you know it's bad for you. Now fast forward to today. We live in a world where unavailability can be simulated with swipes and delayed replies. Dating apps are built on this principle. You see a profile, you get a match, but the next step isn't guaranteed. It turns dating into a quest with unpredictable bosses. You swipe, you match, you chat, but you never know when they'll reply, if they'll reply, or what they really think. That uncertainty keeps you engaged, keeps you coming back, keeps you paying for premium features. The app designers know exactly what they're doing. They're exploiting your ancient brain circuits to keep you hooked. But it's not just apps, it's also the way we communicate in general. Texting, messaging, social media, all of them allow us to control our availability. We can reply instantly, or we can wait hours. We can be warm, or we can be distant. And because everyone does this, it's become a game of who cares less. The person who cares less appears more desirable, and the person who cares more appears needy and loses value. So we all pretend to be busy, we all delay replies, we all try to seem less available because we think that will make us more attractive. And in doing so, we create a cycle of anxiety and confusion that leaves no one truly happy. Neuroscientists have scanned the brains of people going through emotional roller coasters in relationships. They found that the same brain regions light up in them as in drug addicts waiting for their hit, especially the area linked to craving and habit formation. The paradox is that you mistake this anxiety for passion. You think, if I feel this intensely, it must be true love. But reality is harsh. Intense feeling isn't the same as deep connection. Deep connection is calm, predictable, and safe. Unavailability is adrenaline. It gives you a temporary high, but then drops you low and eventually drains your nervous system. Over time, chronic uncertainty wears you down. Long-term studies have revealed that people who regularly chase unavailable partners tend to have higher stress hormones over time. They suffer more from insomnia, anxiety, and lower self-esteem. But self-esteem drops not because you're bad, it drops because your brain interprets being ignored as you're being exiled from the tribe. And exile in evolution meant death. So every read with no reply gets processed as a life threat. That's not exaggeration, that's biology. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your stomach churns. That's your body preparing for a threat. And when the person finally replies, it's like the threat is lifted. You feel relief. But that relief is temporary. The cycle repeats again and again. Now, why do some people fall into this pattern more than others? Part of it has to do with how we learned about love in childhood. If you grew up with caregivers who were inconsistent, sometimes loving, sometimes distant, your brain learned that love is unpredictable. You learned to chase that love, to work for it, to earn it. And that template stays with you into adulthood. So when you meet someone who acts the same way, warm one day, cold the next, it feels familiar. It feels like home, even if it's a stressful home. Your brain doesn't know the difference between familiarity and safety. It just knows what it's used to. That's why we often repeat patterns we don't even want. So, how do you escape this trap? First, stop interpreting anxiety as love. Start tracking your sensations. When you're waiting for a reply, is it anticipation or is it a knot in your stomach? If it's the latter, your nervous system is screaming, overload. Learn to recognize that feeling and call it what it is, stress, not excitement. The more you practice that distinction, the less power uncertainty will have over you. Second, artificially create a three-touch rule. This isn't magic, it's a behavioral therapy technique. If someone fails to reply 3 times in a reasonable window, say 24 hours, or gives vague responses 3 times, you deliberately dial back your engagement. You don't have to ghost them, but you stop investing emotionally. You stop waiting. You stop checking your phone. You put that energy back into yourself. This retrains your brain that unavailability no longer earns a reward. Over time, the dopamine spike will fade because the connection between uncertainty and reward gets broken. Third, redirect your seeking system towards stability. Look for someone who makes you feel safe, not someone you have to conquer. That's hard because evolution never taught us to value safety. It taught us to value high status. But status has changed. Real status today is the ability to be open, honest, and consistent. People who are emotionally available, who communicate clearly, who are not afraid of intimacy, they are the ones who truly have their act together. They are rare, but they exist, and they are worth finding. Fourth, get comfortable with boredom. In a world of constant stimulation, we've become addicted to drama. Calm feels boring, reliable feels dull, but that's just your brain playing tricks on you. Real love is not a roller coaster, it's a steady walk. It's not about chasing, it's about sharing. Give yourself time to adjust to that new rhythm. It might feel strange at first, but it's the only path to lasting happiness. And remember, your pull toward the unavailable isn't a life sentence. It's just an ancient script you no longer need. You can rewrite it. First, recognize it. Second, stop reinforcing it. Third, choose differently. It takes practice and it takes patience, but every time you consciously step back from someone who's inconsistent, you are rewiring your brain. You are telling your limbic system, this is not how I get my rewards anymore. And eventually, your brain will get the message. The next time you feel that burning interest in someone who keeps vanishing, stop and ask yourself, is this love or is this just dopamine roulette? Be honest. And if it's the latter, say out loud, I'm not playing this game anymore. Then turn your attention to something that actually nourishes you, your own growth, your own passions, your own life. Because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. When you stop chasing ghosts, you make room for real people to show up. And they will, once you stop looking for validation in all the wrong places. So, take a breath. Let go of the need to prove your worth to someone who doesn't see it. You are not a prize to be won. You are a person to be known. And the right person will want to know you, not play games with you. Trust that, and start today.